I always feel like one statement deserves a follow-up question, right? Farhan is cheap. Okay, what would you have him do?
Yeah.
And again, things that certainly work in what they have control over. They sent Marco Luciano down. They have control over that. If they made an offer for Eduardo Rodriguez and he said, I'm not going east or west of the Mississippi, that's out of your control.
Absolutely.
Right? But if it's Farhan is cheap, or if it's they signed Sam Darnold, right? There's too much faith in Brock Purdy. Whatever team you want, instead of going, they messed this up in the past, look forward. What would you have them do? Those are the questions that I'm genuinely interested in responses. And you can certainly weigh in. 888-957-957. You can pick any one of the teams.
Yeah.
What would you have them do?
For the Warriors?
That they haven't done.
For the Warriors, first and foremost, it'd be play the young guys. That'll be the prevailing answer we get. Play Kuminga, play Moody, play the young guys.
Okay.
You gave up on Wiseman without really taking a good, hard look at him, many people will say, and you got rid of Jordan Poole because he couldn't get along or basketball-wise he didn't fit, whatever the reason was. Play the young guys is what the Warrior answer is going to be. For the Giants, take a chance. Take a chance, Farhan, and spend some money because you haven't signed anyone to longer than 3 years. You had Kevin Gosman in the building and didn't want to pay him. Carlos Rodon, same thing, turned out to be a good move. Carlos Correa, so far, that whopper contract is not looking too good, although he signed just a 6-year deal for Minnesota. Take a chance, Farhan.
Okay.
You tend to sit there and you do these micro moves on the margins. You don't do anything big.
What if I responded to that? And this is kind of what I mean. Take a chance, Farhan. On what? What's the specific chance you'd like him to take? And are you arguing?
I gave you an example already. Kevin Gosman would have been taking a chance. Sign a pitcher to a long-term deal. He signs Stripling, Manaea, and Wood to these 3-year deals, knowing that if they don't work out, he can get out from underneath them.
It's most likely. I'm still, by the way, not ready to call it a done deal. It is most likely a bad move that they didn't keep Gosman. It's most likely a bad move. But I don't think it's done yet because he signed a 5-year deal and we're only a year and a half into it. So Kevin is very, very good right now. Last year, 12-10 and a 3.35 ERA. This year, he's 8-5 and a 3.10 ERA. He was 9th in Cy Young voting last year, an all-star this year. So that's somebody you want on your team. But what if in the next 3 years, as he becomes 33, 34, 35, 36 years old, what if that 5-year, $100 million contract with the Blue Jays becomes an anchor?
I mean, then that's a mistake. Or you trade it. Just take a chance.
Okay.
You're asking me what the fans or what I would want.
And I'm just following. I'm just asking follow-up questions.
No, and I like it.
That's a totally fair one. I wish Kevin Gosman were on this team too.
It feels like Brandon Belt is the president of baseball operations. He's just standing there looking at pitches.
You don't think that.
By and large, thank you. By and large,
you don't think that.
It was a bit of a joke, but Farhan Zaidi.
Do you think he stands by and watches it all unfold?
He doesn't make big deals. He doesn't take big chances. The Chris Bryant trade was a great example of a very smart deal, and then that was it. It was a rental, which cost you 2 prospects that you probably couldn't name. I Googled it yesterday, and I already forget who they were.
Who, Chris Bryant?
Yes.
Canario?
Who hasn't really played in the bigs.
And, correct, Alexander Canario.
Yeah.
And Caleb, what was your last name,
Impressive
Caleb?
that you pulled out even
Canario.
Canario.
Yeah, Alexander Canario and Caleb. Dang it, let me think for a second.
You can come up with it, but he hasn't really played either.
Exactly.
So
no, it was a good deal.
It's a great deal, but you didn't take a swing and keep Chris Bryant, which has turned out to be good.
Correct.
But again, And like Cody Bellinger is a player that you maybe could have gotten in the offseason.
I think they tried.
But they didn't get him. And this is the frustration. I'm sick of I think they tried. Because there's trying and then there's doing. And when you look at him on the try-do scale, he's all try and very little do.
Okay.
That's where the frustration lies.
And I totally get it, and I share it. At the same time, if I'm Aaron Judge and the Yankees are like, we'll offer you $320, and the Giants go, we'll offer you $360, and Aaron takes all that information and calls George Steinbrenner and says, I need $40 million more
George,
dollars.
rest in peace.
Thank you. Hal, whatever. Anyway, calls somebody named Steinbrenner and says, I need 40 more mil. And he goes, okay.
He wasn't coming anyway, which is why I didn't mention that as a swing and miss.
All right. I guess while it's totally fair to get mad at the finishing in second thing, I have a hard time with those who say, dude, you're just sitting there watching the world go by when you were the number one contender for Judge. You were the number one contender for Harper, contender being the first failure. But like Harper said this out loud, the last thing they did before, and I'll forever call this, to me, this was a bigger mistake than even Judge or Correa, because this one was just money. This was just money. Judge, you're right. He wanted to be a Yankee. Correa said yes.
And then Judge clowned him.
I know. They got served.
They got totally served.
And then Correa said yes. And then the Giants were the ones to back out.
And so far, that's looking pretty good.
Right. But Harper, who I guess you could argue it either looks bad or it looks good, he was great. Now this year, injuries, and he homers once a month. But outside of that, for a while, Bryce Harper looked like someone you'd really want on your team. And the last thing that happened before he signed with the Phillies was he called his agent and said, where's San Francisco? Well, they're not quite up to the money of Philly. All right, then we're going with Philly. And you could have said, hey, Giants, huck another $25 million in there. Why not? That's a fair criticism. It's a fair criticism, even though he truly has like homered once in the last month or something.
He's got an MVP.
Yes, he does.
And,
hell of a play. He'd be the best hitter on the Giants. No question. No question about it.
So that's the frustration.
But the
overarching question was, what do you want these guys to do?
But that doesn't mean he's sitting there watching. That to me is an unfair characterization.
Okay, then I'll withdraw the characterization and say it's even more damning what he's doing, because all he does is lose no matter what in free agency. And then he goes out there and he gets Manaea, friend of the program, who is available, and Ross Stripling and Anthony DeSclafani, who you want off your team. He gets a bunch of middling guys and gives them middling deals and hopes that they can be reclamation projects. He is great. You know who Farhan is? Farhan's the guy who wakes up in the morning and goes on Craigslist and looks under the heading for garage sale and maps out on his little map all the garage sales in a 5-mile radius of his house.
Dibs.
And gets in his old pickup truck
Dibs.
And drives around and looks for broken down chairs with
Dibs.
3 legs that he can fix. Ooh, there's an old Nintendo game. I can fix that up. Here's a TV that needs a new tube. I can fix that. That's who he is to me, Mark.
So then how did they end up 11th in payroll? That's odd.
They have paid a lot of money to a lot of middling players.
All they do is lose
in the big free agency market.
No matter what.
Yeah, when they go to swing for the big boys, there was second place.
There was no competition. Now I know that this is not an A-lister, but are you under the impression that the free agents they sign are just guys who have nowhere else to go? All they do is lose no matter what?
Jock Peterson took a qualifying offer to stay to make, 19.6?
Example, you don't think there was competition this offseason for Michael Conforto?
I don't think that anyone was going to pay as much as Farhan Zaidi.
Really?
You think Conforto could have gotten more money elsewhere?
Michael Conforto was coming off an injury prior to that.
Right.
Well, right. But I mean, that's the only reason it's a short-term deal. That's a high-level hitter for the Mets. High-level hitter, Michael Conforto.
In 2021?
Yeah. whenever, prior to the injury.
I mean, Conforto and Haniger are perfect examples. They have been, in the past, great hitters. And so
yes.
Farhan pays them a good amount of money, and that is partly why the payroll is so inflated, because you get these guys who are either coming off of injury or coming back from overseas, guys who at one point were good, and now we're hoping that they'll be good. Conforto's been pretty good.
He's been
Haniger
fine.
has been unavailable.
Right. Haniger
for
has
a couple
been
of months.
More injured again.
Right.
I guess, and this is everything now. It's not just free agency. When we talk about the trades that he's made, the acquisitions he's made, again, I'm just going to characterizations here. All he does is lose no matter what.
In the big time free agent market.
But how many of those are we talking about? 3?
Well, you can go further down the list at other players who are B-level.
Who qualifies as an A-lister that they've gone after?
Harper, Judge, Correa. Those would be the big 3 that they were connected to. And Shohei Ohtani will be next.
1 for 3 in terms of him landing and getting a yes.
Okay. And I don't want to get bogged down in this, but
we don't need to.
3 in rostering players.
That's fine. But that's a fact.
Now, Correa's a win because he's had a bad year.
Yes.
If Correa next year goes 320 and he has an OPS of 900, that becomes a miss. But right now, that's a win.
Yeah, I would Farhan. With what we're looking at in the middle infield now, and I wonder how this even all factored into it, it's pretty fascinating that who they got was a shortstop / third baseman. Because in theory, these young guys that everybody's got eyes on now, what the hell would they have done if Carlos Correa was on the team? Estrada, Schmidt, Luciano, what are we doing?
Well,
where are they going?
Yeah, you're probably figuring out for Luciano to maybe play second earlier.
Maybe, but Estrada's there. That's still a young player.
Estrada's hurt, so
but that's July,
right?
You're not making a 5-year plan.
And Crawford would have been at third. The question is, what do you do with J.D. Davis? Because Crawford would have been playing third, platooning with J.D. Davis.
Right. But I just wonder, I'm interested in these answers, and I'm curious with the characterizations. He's not perfect.
No, he's brilliant at, like I said, Craigslist, garage sale. Let's find a Rule 5 Blake Sable. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant move. Lamont Wade Jr.
Garage sale?
Thrift store? What do you want for your analogy?
I don't know. The contracts they signed.
One of your catchers is...
They're not garage sales.
Blake Sable was a Rule 5.
Haniger's making over $40 million.
I'm not going there. I'm going to the other parts of the roster. Lamont Wade Jr. is a find. It's a treasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the portion of the conversation where I give him credit. So you can push back if you want, but this is where I'm crediting him for his thrift store ability, because he goes in the thrift store and finds a Gucci handbag that somebody accidentally did. They accidentally sold it, and the person at Goodwill didn't realize that this thing's actually worth hundreds of dollars, and so they put it up for sale for $22.50, and he buys it, and he washes it and sells it for $380. You've got Yaz and Lamont Wade Jr., Tyro Estrada himself, so many other players he has found off of the virtual scrap heap and turned them into something. That's a gift. But when it comes to what we talked about at the start of this conversation, what do I want from Farhan? I want a big move. I want a big swing, and it might be a big swing and a miss. Instead, it's just, little micro moves.
Yeah, I guess the micro moves, in my eyes, they come after your big swings, which were misses. One of them, sort of.
Right.
One of them was a sort of a miss.
I think that he will always, and he's proven it at every stop, Oakland, LA, and now here, this is what he's the best at. This is his separation skill. Finding players that other teams don't value that he can turn into value.
I agree with that, but I also think that the deals that he doesn't make, there's a lot of focus right now on Gausman. And I think, I'm trying to run my brain through all of this, I think that's the only deal he didn't make that's bitten him.
In terms of players that they had?
Think of all the other deals that he has walked away from. And you can even now put Correa into that bucket. The Chris Bryant, the Carlos Rodon, the Carlos Correa, all the Carloses. Look at all the deals that he's walked away from.
Bumgarner.
Madison Bumgarner, thank you. Grandy with an earshot on that one.
Well, I mean, were they really going to sign him to a long-term deal? Now Brian Sabian might have.
That's what the fans wanted. I hope you well remember the day.
Of course
that
I
he
do.
signed with the
I thought
Arizona
they should have
Diamondbacks.
traded him, but they didn't because it was Bochy's last stand.
Well, and that's also a perception. I don't think they got offered a hill of beans for him.
You could be right.
That was the beginning of we're not doing rentals anymore.
And according to your
People
earlier
aren't doing
conversation,
rentals.
Farhan doesn't give a rip.
Bleep.
Is what? No, you say a rip.
Well,
which is
a bleep.
That's your way of swearing because you don't do that. But
I swear,
not on the air. That's my bit. You stay in your lane.
That's exactly right.
Thank you, Grandy. Well, right on time.
YouTube.com/957.
You got that button. He's always
If you'd like
close
to
to that
watch
button.
Dibs swear, come to
not anymore.
YouTube.com/957 the game.
It's a whole new Dibs now. This is the
not really
the good chip lolly Dibs over here. I'm in a fantastic mood. I want to see
you know what I mean?
The big swing.
Yeah, right.
Now, if we want to take this question to the Niners real quick, what do you want from the Niners?
I do, but before we leave that, your argument is that the Giants don't take the big swing.
He does not. He's never signed a player to longer than a 3-year deal.
That's the big hit. Does he take the big swing?
No, which is why he's Brandon Belt.
He doesn't?
No.
Harper and Judge and Correa weren't big swings?
Those were looking third strike misses.
Come on, Dibs.
You know what a big swing is?
What's a big swing?
Signing Carlos Correa, and man, he's not having a good year. That's a swing and a miss. That's a swing. At least he would have gone out
that's a
and
hit.
tried something.
You're saying to be there.
It's a walk. Is what it is.
It's reaching on an error by the short. No.
And what about Brandon Belt?
What about
Is that
him?
not a player that he missed on? He's having a nice little year.
No. You've got Lamont Wade over there who's been better. You got Wade over there.
Belt's a better defender.
First base.
Wade's been good at first, but Belt's
been
still
fine.
better.
Yeah, no, I would much rather have Lamont Wade right now than Brandon Belt, which, if you remember, was exactly what he said when they said why they weren't going to re-sign Brandon Belt. And where would Wade be if you keep Brandon
in the
Belt?
outfield, which is where he's from.
He did start out there.
Yeah.
Right, but you got a young player who's ARB and ARB 1 and ARB 2 and ARB 3 that you want on the roster for years to come. Even if you keep Belt, it's 1 year.
That is the essence of Farhan's genius, is I want players who I can control, and the arbification of the roster is more important to his philosophy than signing a player to longer than 3 years, which he's never done. He's never done that, Mark, and that, again,
he has offered.
I'm just dealing with facts, signatures on paper.
No, but I am too. I'm not dealing with a lack of facts. Those offers are swings. You cannot control who says yes to you, and one of the three did, and then the Giants walked away and were right.
So far.
So there is a perspective on that where you could actually say they nailed it twice. They nailed their free agent pitch, and then they nailed it to walk away. You could argue that without being called a crazy person.
2/3 of the way into year one, it looks like a win for Farhan so far.
Yes.
But much like with, Kevin Gausman, you're not willing to call that a loss yet, so you can't call the Correa a win
fair.
yet.
No, right now I would call Kevin Gausman a loss, especially because they're 59 and 49 right now, and you're dying for basically him.
Yeah.
You're dying for him. While DeSclafani is on the IL, Wood is ticked off, Manaya's on the Bay Bridge trying to figure out what his role is, and Kevin Gausman's an all-star. That's absolutely. But who's the other guy that they let walk and they were wrong? He's literally the only one.
Well, I'd have to go back and look at the list of all free agents that have gone on to play well, or who they could have maybe gotten but didn't because
I'm
Farhan
talking
Zaidi
about the guys you had, and
Right.
you let them walk, and then it bit you. The list is Gausman.
Basically,
That's the list.
Chris Bryant starting to play better, but 8 home runs and a 717 OPS.
In
nothing
Colorado.
To write home. Yeah, nothing to write home to mom
And
about.
$180 million over whatever it was, 7 years.
It's Brandon Belt's war now. Is
Brandon
he in the positive yet?
Belt's having a good year.
Better.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
0.9 war.
Okay. He's been doing good. He tells you he should be the face of the league right now. Just ask him. But I don't think there's any jealousy with regard to Brandon Belt, who by the way, I don't even think he plays first base for the Blue Jays.
No, DH.
I think he's
a lot
their
of DH. Yeah.
I think he's their DH. He's hitting 244 with 9 home runs.
792 OPS.
Which is good. That's good.
Because his on base will always be high.
I always look, if you're at 750 or better, you're doing well.
Hit a big home run yesterday.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Oppo Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
I saw that thing. If you're over 750, you're doing really well. If you're over 800, you're crushing it, which is where Lamont Wade is.
Has he had as many at bats?
Who, Wade or Belt?
Wade.
Wade.
Sorry, that was an accident.
The way that came
That
out.
just came out.
It was a consideration.
It was.
242 at bats for Brandon Belt.
292 for Wade. So, yeah, a little bit more.
Yeah.
A couple more homers.
Yeah.
And an 820 OPS as opposed to 792.
Better baseball player.
No, you're right.
Younger, better, cheaper
I could
baseball
defensive war you, but I don't want to bore you by defensive warring you.
You don't want to bore me by warming.